Hello and welcome to another episode of Sci-Fi-Night Tipsy Talk. And by now you guys probably know the drill, me a little tipsy, going off script, just talking randomly, and we are covering X-Files Season 11. So we're up at episode 5, Gouli, written and directed by James Wong, who wrote a lot of really great episodes back in the original series run. Him and Glenn Morgan together were a really great team, and they did a lot of the really best episodes the first 3 seasons. The first 2 seasons, they disappeared a little bit, they did their own show, came back. Anyway, so starts off with these 2 girls in this creepy ass looking, the USS creepy ship, looking for this, we're calling for this thing called Gouli. They eventually run into it, and it's actually each other. That's something that wasn't clear in the trailers, which I'm glad that they didn't spoil. But basically, these girls see each other as this creepy-ass monster thing. Monster design, I like it. I mean, it's not the most original thing ever, but then again, when they get into the story, it's not really supposed to be. So this opening was pretty dark and bloody, and I fucking loved that. I mean, these girls were just slicing the shit out of each other, just going all odd style, shanking each other up, thinking that the other one was this monster. So then Scully gets this vision of this dark figure. She's calling it hypogognia or something like that. Mulder thinks it might be sleep paralysis, and it eventually brings them to the ship. And I really like this quote by Mulder where he said that dreams are the answers to tomorrow's questions. That was very Mulder-esque. And one interesting thing too was that the ship was called the Chimera. This may or may not be a reference to the season 7 episode, or the season 7 episode Chimera, which I think is pretty underrated. I actually really like it, with this sort of monster witch thing in this nice, rich suburban neighborhood. So they're investigating, and they find out that these girls thought the other one was a monster. Oh, and quick note, Mulder looks like good in this episode. I mean, like, it's the most handsome he's been all season. I don't know, props to the stylist here. I also liked how he was like, yeah, what's the problem with modern monsters? No emotional connection. He brings up the Wolfman and stuff like that. So both the girls mentioned that they had this boyfriend, Jackson Vanderkamp, and Vanderkamp is a name that should be a little bit familiar by now because we heard it a lot in episode 1 of season 11, that was a family that had adopted William, Mulder and Scully's son, or well, technically Scully's and the cigarette smoking man's. Then they head off to a house, and it gets dark. Like, they go in, and both the parents are shot to death, basically like execution style. They find the boy upstairs, seemingly dead, and what follows is William actually not being dead, and him being able to project like his visions and his thoughts onto other people to make them see things. And I gotta say, I really liked this episode. Episode 4 was really good, best so far. Still probably the best. I mean, this episode was not without its flaws, and it's with a lot of the sort of same issues that I've had with most of the season, and that it just feels a little bit lighter. But this one was definitely a huge improvement over like the first 3 episodes in the serious tone, because I thought that the dialogue was better. I thought that both Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny both did a fantastic job, especially Anderson. I mean, she was she put on her A game big time. I also liked this power struggle with the Department of Defense and Mulder and Scully, and the DOD following this following Mulder and Scully. They were talking to Mulder, like, oh, what a tragedy, like talking so nonchalantly about it, and yeah, damn, just Mulder just being an asshole to them. That was also such a good throwback, because Mulder always had problems with like sometimes local law enforcement and sometimes other government agencies. A lot of the time the Department of Defense, actually, when I think about it. One thing that was really moving too was Scully's, when she's talking to what she thinks is the corpse of William, and she's just like, I'm so sorry, I wish I could have been there. And damn, like, this episode was like properly emotional. I mean, it lures you in with this sort of dark monster thing. I mean, you find out that it's something a lot deeper. I mean, like, there is no actual monster. I mean, this is really about the search for William. So this is a little bit reminiscent in an old season 2 episode, Red Museum, where it also starts off as more of a Monster of the Week episode. Turns out to be more story-based than you think. And that's kind of the same deal here, because a lot of this season is about the search for William. And then we got Scully bumping into this Asian guy who just seems like really nice for no reason. Turns out, at the end of the episode, big twist, she talks to the Asian guy again at the gas station, says some stuff, turns out to be a Malcolm X quote. They found his Malcolm X poster in William's room. They look at the security tape, boom, it was William all along. And the big exciting climax at the hospital I thought was really well done, where these Department of Defense goons are hunting for William, and he starts using his projection power, making them see Gouli or making them see Scully holding a weapon and stuff like that, and it was just really properly effective. I will say that the CGI on the Gouli monster wasn't always the most convincing. Like, it looked good in some lights, not as good in some others. But to touch on the design thing again, like, considering that this is basically like a creepypasta monster that was like written by William, something that he's just like, it's probably just like an amalgamation of stuff he's seen in these fucked up alien visions. Like, the design makes sense, because I mean, a lot of the like creepypasta monsters aren't really the most original either. And another thing that's interesting, I mean, it looks like Skinner is kind of in cahoots with the cigarette smoking man. I mean, what's going on? He's like reporting to him just like this was back in season 1 and 2. So that's definitely interesting. I hope it's not for real, because I love Skinner. I mean, most X-Files fans love Skinner. He's always been like the dad to Mulder and Scully, the one who kind of has to say no when they're out on their crazy stuff, but he really is looking out for them, and he does. I mean, he really just wants the best for them. And that was also an interesting twist. A lot of sort of like small little emotional punches that this episode had. And just in general, I liked that the tone overall was a little bit darker. Like, I mean, this was probably the bloodiest episode so far. I mean, well, yeah, it was hands down without a doubt. I mean, just the aftermath of the beginning or during it as well. I mean, there was blood all over the place. So, like, right now, I'm having a hard time actually placing specific things that I didn't really like about the episode. I mean, it's mostly just smaller stuff, like the Department of Defense guys, the one guy with a mustache, he wasn't that convincing for me. Like, I don't know. He just seemed a little too chill, too calm. Like, I like the other guy who seemed more ice cold. But the guy with the mustache was, I don't know. Didn't really work for me. But in general, what I really liked about this episode was that it did feel like a mix of old and new. I mean, the whole projecting these visions onto other people and making them see stuff, that's easily something we would have seen in the earlier series run. But then combining it with the search for William and having him be the one who's causing it, I mean, let's face it, I mean, if he weren't their son, he could basically be like the villain, like the unwilling monster of the week himself, accidentally using his power to harm people. And in that sense, it was kind of a mix of the newer seasons 10 and 9, or 10 and 11, and the older seasons 1 through 9. So that was actually a pretty cool thing. I was in some ways a little bit disappointed, because I kind of just did want a straightforward monster of the week. That's kind of what I've been campaigning for a lot of the time. Like, just give us some fun monsters or serial killers or whatever, ghosts. I'm down for whatever. I just want the core X-Files right now, because I'm kind of done with the mythology. And to be honest, I'm not really sure how much of a payoff this is gonna have, but I don't know. The story stuff worked for me all the same. I mean, even though I did want just a monster, they managed to reel me into the mythology. And I actually really liked the actor they had to play William. He was like nice and sympathetic, but also a little bit dark, and I mean, a little bit of a douchebag. He's got 2 girlfriends. What's up with that dude? But it just, I don't know, this kind of worked. This was the first point in this season so far where like the story elements, the mythology elements actually really drew me in, and in some way strengthened it, because like when William is hiding from the Department of Defense guys in the hospital, like it was really tense, and I was really into it. And then just like Mulder being like an asshole teenager to the Department of Defense guys. I mean, it just always puts a smile on my face when Mulder is like pissing off authority. I mean, that is his thing. Like after they're searching the house and they're in William's room, and he starts getting all the information on his USB drive. When the DOD guys come in, he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'm leaving." He purposely knocks over the soda can on the open laptop to destroy everything. And I was like, oh. And I really like that moment too, especially to the more ice-cold, hard Department of Defense guy. But I know, I'm interested now to see how we're gonna go after William. Like, it's weird. Like, I wasn't expecting myself to be this interested in the mythology halfway through the season. But yeah, I don't know. These past 2 episodes have really worked for me. I mean, Season 11 is winning me over. It's definitely a lot better than Season 10. Definitely so far, just on the strength of these 2 episodes alone. And the previous 2 ones before that were pretty flawed, but still kind of worked for me. So definitely so far, this is by far a superior season to the last one, which I was hoping, expecting, and am very much enjoying now. It looks like the next episode will be based around Skinner and guest star Haley Joel Osment, looking like he's been on a cheeseburger diet. And I don't know, that episode so far isn't hooking me as much. Like right now I'm more interested in like, damn, like William's got this power, and I mean, I still kind of want to see more of a Gouli monster. That's been a little bit of a disappointment for me for both these 2 seasons. Well, not quite as many monsters. We got a cool one last season with the Trash Man, the Band-Aid Nose Man. Now we got Gouli, but it wasn't really a monster. So I hope that we get at least 1 or yeah. I mean, I can't probably hope for 2. I mean, there's gonna be a little bit of mix-up stuff. They gotta do some story stuff too. I get that, but just give me 1 solid, proper, old school Mulder and Scully taking on a monster thing, like they did in the season 10 episode 4 that I also enjoyed. Just give me some of that, and I'm kind of like fine. I'm still interested to see like what they're gonna do with the rest of the season. They haven't really revealed a whole lot. Much more than the next episode. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just pleasantly surprised. I'm pretty hyped. I kind of want to rewatch this episode. Maybe it's just that I was looking forward to so much, and a lot of stuff just really clicked for me. But yeah, I'm really liking these past 2 episodes, and I'm hoping the trend can continue with the next one. Maybe the not so exciting trailer didn't show the best parts. Probably not, because it didn't really show a whole lot, to be honest. But yeah, that about does it. I'm gonna finish my beer and start editing this. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments below. Do you guys also feel like the season is sort of picking up after a slow start? And what do you guys think about next week's episode with Skinner, some of his past in Vietnam? What's with Haley Joel Osment? What's with the title? Kitten? Okay, weird. Some of the titles this season have been kind of weird. Like this for episode 2. This what? Like, come on, that's a weird ass title. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys next time.